I'm going to do a video on the big deal. Now, a lot of people realise that I do indeed have a history of working with governments and against governments. I'm a fugitive on the run from my own country's government, yet I'm working with people in that government at the same time. And I work with a lot of governments internationally as well. People have looked into it and confirmed, no, I'm not making this stuff up. And I don't just work with the government, I work with the bad guys as well. I work with black hats and I make a truce and a deal with them. I make a deal with everybody. Now, people wonder, they get scared and they wonder whose side am I on. And I'm not deceptive and malignant and a time bomb and all that like everyone else is. I've always been honest and open about everything. Just people are blinded by their paranoia. Bad people have a reason to be paranoid. Look, basically, if you're one of the good guys, I'm on your side. If you're one of the bad guys, you should be scared shitless of me. Now, I don't care what labels you use. It's irrelevant to me. I see through all labels. I see the good guys and the bad guys, and I deal with them accordingly. I don't care what excuse you have to try and protect yourself from accountability. I deal with you, and I stop you by any means necessary. Now, some things I've mentioned as it relates to assassination. Now, I have no problem if I've stated laws where I can legally assassinate people, certain people who do certain crimes. And I can do it under self-defense, and I can do it in defense of other people as well. And I can travel the world and assassinate people legally for certain crimes. And you want to debate about that, we'll debate about it. So if you go around making certain very serious threats about people, I have the legal right to go to the other side of the world and end your life. And I have no dilemma about that whatsoever. My conscience is crystal clear. So be careful what you go around threatening people with. I'm not saying that all threats warrant assassination, but certain threats do. Once you do the deed, you lose all your rights. Your government will not protect you. There's so much I could say on this, mate. I debated it for hours recently. I could spend hours on it, so I won't say too much on it. So basically, if you're one of the good guys, I'm on your side. If you're one of the bad guys, your days are numbered. And I don't care what labels you use to try and pretend to be something else. I see every wolf hiding among the sheep. I see every single one of them. I see all through all of your lies and diversions and excuses. So what is this deal? What is my position and where is my position on everything? People ask me all the time, and I keep telling them all the time. So I'll make a video on that matter. So this is my position. I stand for morality and truth. I stand for the spirit of law as opposed to the written letter of the law. I don't acknowledge all so-called laws as being legitimate laws. There are contradictions in law all the time. National laws of different nations and international laws. Certain international laws I place of higher value over national laws. But there are certain laws that overrule other laws. And a lot of people are ignorant of law, and especially the spirit of law, and which laws have authority. There's a constant political war going on all over the world over all this. Over the spirit of law versus the written letter of the law. There's deceptive, lying pieces of trash trying to undermine the law, and they're starting to lose, and the tide's changed and a lot's happening. So I stand for morality and truth, not some corrupted, weird, bizarre version of morality and truth with a chink in the armour here and there, something that's really fucked up, that I think that I have, that it's okay for me to do something that isn't okay. No, I've always stood for morality and truth, and I prove it every step of the way. And I don't care what laws you try and misquote to protect yourself from me. You are not protected from me. If you go around doing very serious crimes and hurting the innocent and vulnerable, I will simply delete you from existence. One way or another. I have various methods that I do this. And I'm patient with what I do. I give other people a chance to rise up and be a hero and redeem themselves first. One thing that I often do is I track down the victims. And I empower the victims, and I give the victims tools to fight back And I give them the ability to take it too far, just as they took it too far against the victims. So where's my position? Well, I make what I call the deal. There's a deal I make with everybody. Governments, intelligence agencies, black hats, script kiddies, everybody. It's the same deal. It's like this. So long as you attack the powerful and corrupt, I won't interfere. I won't interfere. As far as I'm concerned, it's two gangs duking it out. I'll just let them duke it out. I'll just stand back, let them duke it out. Then I'll deal with the winner after the battle's won. And on all these battles and wars that go on between different bad guys, attacking the powerful and corrupt, even the little guy who's corrupt attacking the powerfully corrupt, I don't intervene. I just let them duke it out. The powerful, they don't need my help. The corrupt, they don't deserve my help. So as long as if you're to say you're a hacktivist or something, and you're spreading lies about the powerfully corrupt and doing a lot of evil things, I won't interfere, because as far as I'm concerned, you all play with fire, you all get burned. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. As far as I'm concerned, you're all giving each other your own justice of playing your own game. You play that game against each other, you face the consequences. And then I deal with the victor at the end, after the war is won. And these wars that go on, there's no end in sight. These are just little battles here and there, little attacks, pot shots here and there and stuff. I wouldn't even call them a real war. Just spiteful bullshit. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't interfere with that. I'm not interested. And when it comes to victimless crimes, if you're just say you're taking drugs in your own home or something, and you're not hurting anyone, and you're breaking some technicality of law somewhere, or something, some sort of thing. There's no real victim here. I don't care. I'm not gonna dob you in. I'm not gonna attack you. I'm not gonna do anything. You're not hurt. You're not hurting anyone. It's none of my business. I don't care. Now, in the spirit of this, the Anonymous logo. If you look at the globe in the Anonymous logo, it has inverted latitudes. That means something. Latitude means more than a line on a map. It means freedom from excessive rules and restrictions, from all the lies and excuses the government make up to justify oppressing you, taking away your rights, and putting all these bizarre, complicated laws and oppressive rules over you, and they're justified in the false name of protecting you. And governments who do this, they will orchestrate the very crimes against you and say, ha ha ha, look, see, we need to take away your rights to protect you from them. It's all bullshit. It's all a big lie. It's all a big scam. It's all a big, real conspiracy. And Anonymous is to represent the opposite of that paradigm. It's an inversion of that paradigm of oppressive rules and restrictions, those latitudes. So Anonymous is an inversion, and to give you, it's of the position that you should only have you shouldn't overcomplicate the law. You should simplify everything, and only have as much rules and restrictions as you absolutely need, such as freedom of speech. Freedom of speech isn't the freedom just to say anything at all. It has common sense restrictions, and these, up until recent times, these restrictions have been widely understood. There's never been any confusion over it. And now we've got all this hate speech bullshit, where hate speech, the very point of freedom of speech, the foundation of freedom of speech, is the right to hate and criticise without being persecuted by the government, and to be protected by the government if someone else persecutes you for criticising them. The freedom of speech is about the right to criticise. So what people do, they make up all this hate speech nonsense. This isn't the law. This is all made up bullshit. I don't recognise this as law. As far as I'm concerned, anyone who tries and pull hate speech on you is a criminal and should be dealt with you as a criminal. And anyone who tries to use force against you in the name of hate speech to censor you, you have the right to use violence against them. And this is critically, its fundamental rights here are being violated in the name of its opposite. So what point I went off? I went off point too much. I can't remember where I was at. So I was saying governments are oppressing oppressive rules over you in the name of protecting you, in the false name of protecting you. It's a Trojan horse. It's all a big Trojan horse. So Anonymous represents an inversion of that. So inverted latitudes. It's an inversion of that paradigm. Now, Anonymous is not anarchism or anything shit like that. No, it's misunderstood as the freedom as in anarchism is somehow freedom. No, it's not. It's a Trojan horse too. No, and Anonymous supports the rule of law, the spirit of law, wholeheartedly, to the absolute. Law is important. It's what separates mankind from the animal kingdom, and it's what the only thing that can manage the human psychological construct, the mental abilities of man, can go very wrong. And law is necessary to maintain civilization and to protect rights that most of the world doesn't even recognise. So the globe on the Anonymous symbol represents an inversion of this paradigm, and it represents freedom within the confines of general free speech and human rights type rules. And a lot of people today don't understand any of this, and they just make it up as they go, and they think that they can they just twist everything, and they're completely clueless. So I was going to say latitudes and so while Anonymous is trying to bring freedom to mankind from these excessive rules and restrictions, it is not against rules and restrictions. It is for rules and restrictions. It is for the spirit of the law and against much of the written letter of the law. The spirit of the law versus the written letter of the law. Look it up. It's a thing. There are those who are trying to maintain and restore the law and restore order, and there are those who are creating disorder in the name of order and who are eroding the law in the name of the law by making all these loopholes and exceptions and restrictions and special privileges and all bizarre kinds of crap. All these new laws, they are contradicting older laws. They contradict themselves. They're completely incoherent. I don't recognise any of these laws. I recognise a lot of older laws that overrule this shit, and you can't pull this legal shit out of me. Look, I don't even consider myself a legal expert. I'm a moral expert. I'm an expert in the spirit of the law, not the written letter of the law. And I can win any argument anyone makes against me regarding law because I understand how it all works. I understand what it means. I understand the whole framework of law. And people who are so-called experts of the law, they didn't even understand what law is and what it's supposed to do. And the accusation the government had against me is to say that I had a so-called mental illness, and that mental illness was documenting government corruption and being too smart for my own good, after they failed to assassinate and frame me in kangaroo courts for years. So I've outsmarted the whole government in the courts, all by myself, for years. Me against the government, and I've won every step of the way. And I've documented all their corruption and fraud and all kinds of shit. So clearly, I know what I'm talking about. And I reinforce that point is when you make certain threats over the internet, I don't care where you are not protected by your own national laws. You are under international law, and your own government will not protect you. Your own friends won't protect you. Your own friends will side with me, and I guarantee it. You go around making certain threats on the internet. When you cross a certain line, I have the legal right to hunt you down and assassinate you. I have I'm not saying I will, but I have the legal right to do so. And things as they are today will be much more strict in the future. Things are changing. So don't misunderstand what I do. You will not, in the future, you will not be allowed to get away with doing this shit over the internet. Like making hacking threats and all that kind of stuff. Zero tolerance. So, the deal. I'll just check if I'm still recording. Now it's 15 minutes, alright. So the deal. Now, I make a deal with everyone. And it's like this. I said, so long as you're attacking the powerfully corrupt, I'm not going to intervene. So long as you're not hurting anyone in any big way, I'm not into it. It's okay. You do what you like. I'm not going to intervene. I'm not trying to oppress people with laws and tell them what to do. I support freedom wholeheartedly. I'm a defender of freedom legitimately. What freedom really means. But with freedom comes with certain rules and restrictions. And there are certain areas where certain rules and restrictions must be maintained with zero tolerance. And the people who try to oppress you, they try and take away those foundational rules and restrictions and replace them with something completely different. It's polar opposite as a Trojan horse. So when it comes to attacking the innocent and vulnerable, that's where I have zero tolerance. You attack the innocent and vulnerable, I don't care who you are. If you're a government, you're a black hat hacker, some random thug in the street. If I see evidence of anyone doing this, reasonable evidence to confirm it is done, or if it's done to me, then we have a problem and I deal with you and I make sure that you are stopped. And one of the ways I do this is I empower the victims. I track down the victims and I empower them and show them how to fight back and do things to you. Another thing is I take it, as I recently did, I take it to government agencies and I give them a chance to redeem themselves and their shit reputation that they've earned. A chance to do things right for once, after a history of fucking everything up. And obviously the FBI fucked up really bad, again. No wonder they got a bad reputation, but let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens. So I do a variety of means before taking matters into my own hands. But I do take matters into my own hands, and when I do need to, I don't hesitate. I do what needs to be done. I don't care if what I need to do is an extreme. I will do it without hesitation, with a crystal clear conscience. I'm crystal clear about everything I do. There's no fog or grey area in what I do. Right and wrong are always crystal clear. And if anyone wants to debate me about it, let's debate about it for hours. I don't lose debates at all. So, certain rules and restrictions are to protect the innocent and vulnerable. And to be very critical of positions of power. I'm not saying paranoid and condemn and blind condemnation of positions of power. No, what I'm saying is hold power to the more power one wields, the more they are to be scrutinized and the more they are to be held to account. It must be this way. This is the balance of power, how balance of power works. With accountability. So protect my focus is one of my focuses is to hold all positions of power accountable and under scrutiny. But the main focus here is, the immediate focus is protecting the vulnerable and innocent. So I make a deal with people over that. So I can go, who you are, I make the same deal. So I'll give you an example of black hats. I'm a white hat. I'm against the vast majority of hacking, very strongly, and all kinds of degenerate behavior. I'm against trolling and all kinds of stupid shit. But when it comes to black hats, for example, I make a deal with them. I say, look, you do what you do in the name of Anonymous. This is what Anonymous is, and this is what it isn't. I'm the founder of Anonymous, and here's the proof. Let's go through the proof and show that I really am the founder of Anonymous. So, since I'm the founder of Anonymous, I alone understand what Anonymous is more than anyone, what it really is and what it really isn't. I can explain all these myths, these false toxic myths that have come about over the years, why they happened and why they actually had to happen. But this is not the real Anonymous. You think that what you're doing is Anonymous. It is not Anonymous. So I go through all this with black hats and script kiddies and whoever, or with everybody. And I say, look, this is my position, and let's make a deal. And that deal is, so long as you attack the powerful and corrupt, I won't intervene. I won't help you. I won't defend you. And I won't intervene. I won't interact with anything to do with it. But whenever you attack someone who's innocent and defenseless and vulnerable, then I deal with you. So many black hats the ones who can be reasoned with, they end up agreeing with me. They don't want to attack the innocent and vulnerable. They just they're black hats who want to be red hats. And I call them brown hats because they're stuck between black and red, which is brown. Brown hats, they're shitters. And so they have a romantic dream about being a red hat. They've got a long history of doing bad things. They want to gain some kind of legitimacy in their life, but they're not willing to really put in the work and do it for real. They play with both sides. They sit on the fence in the matter. But they are inspired by me and Anonymous as a force of vigilantism, a force of good. So a lot of the things that these black hats do, or brown hats, is they sometimes do good things because they're inspired by Anonymous, and they start thinking that what they're doing is Anonymous. I show them that, no, that's totally against what Anonymous is. And I show them what Anonymous is. And they acknowledge that, okay, what we're doing, we don't agree with everything in Anonymous, but we're fans of what you do. That's what they say. So, make an agreement that they stop doing all this black hat, brown hat kind of shit. They stop doing that in the name of Anonymous and stop promoting this false narrative of Anonymous and causing harm to potential new recruits and leading them astray. There are consequences when they do that. So they agree, that most of them agree that, okay, they'll stop doing what they're doing in Anonymous. They'll do it as their own group, because they all have their own groups, their own identities and stuff, their own labels. So I make an agreement that they do this in their own name. They separate what they're doing from Anonymous, and they make it crystal clear that this is no association with Anonymous. What they do. This is why most hacks in the name of Anonymous have pretty much stopped, because of these deals that I've made. Not just with black hats, everyone, but in this reference is to black hats. So, as long as they attack the powerful and corrupt, it's okay. I don't want to intervene. As long as they're doing whatever they're doing, I don't care if they're breaking the law. So long as they're not hurting anyone in any big way, I don't want to intervene at all. I'm not interested. You've got nothing to be concerned about. But only am I concerned about when you're attacking the innocent and vulnerable. Now, there's an extra deal when it comes to black hats. The bad guys, or anyone. Applies to anyone, but it especially applies to black hats. If your peers, people within your very group, or others who identify as generally black hats, who have some association with you in some way, is if they're attacking the innocent and vulnerable, then you are obligated to attack them too. You're obligated to fight them, because you fight them to clear your name of those crimes. Otherwise, you will be rightfully be identified as doing the same things as those people, and you'll be punished and targeted because of that association. So, for your own interest, clear your own name and separate yourself from those who are doing this, who are attacking the innocent and vulnerable, and you attack them. And many agree. Okay, that's what they like to do anyway. So. All black hats don't side with each other. They fight against each other all the time anyway. So many agree with me on this deal. And there's another deal when it comes to black hats. It kind of applies to everyone, but especially applies to black hats. I don't support hacking and stuff like that. But if you do hacking and you come across important information that you think us white hats, the good guys, can use to make the world a better place, then we're willing to listen to what you've got. If you're inspired by us and you think that and you want to do something good, and you think that if you give this stuff that we can do good with it, then we're all ears. We're willing to. We're not going to attack you. We can work together. So I can work together with black hats. And while I have many fundamental differences with the black hats, I have a lot of agreements with them as well. And I can work with them. And many agree on this deal. There's no deception here. My position's always been clear. It's always been the same deal that I make with everybody. So I was going to say something about that. Give me a sec. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. I forgot what it was. I've got so much to say on this topic. I talk for hours. I was just going to say something really important on it. I just forgot what it was. But look, debate me on this stuff if you get a chance to, and we'll go through any questions or issues you have over what I say, any misunderstandings or whatever. My position has always been clear. And look, I work with a lot of different groups and people and stuff. Look, I've been a spy for 20 years. I've been other things for a lot longer, but I've been a spy. Is fundamental to the whole intelligence world. What things I've done, I've redefined the intelligence world. Anonymous, among other things, is a global intelligence network. It's many things. It's an internet police force as well. It's many things, and it's a shadow government to guide the world's governments. All right, just give me a second. I'm going to pause it. I'll be back in a sec. I'll just pause it. All right, I'm back. So what I was going to say is, I work with all kinds of people. I work with groups of people who are enemies, but I'm not trying to be manipulative and deceptive, and I have some hidden toxic sabotage agenda or anything like that. I work with whoever I can work with as a force of good. People engage me and they realise, hey, I'm right in what I say, and I'm trustworthy, and I earn people's trust. What else was I going to say? Something was important. What was it? I'm just going to pause it, see if I can remember what it was. Hang on. Okay, that's what I was going to say. Something important. As I said, I've been a spy for 20 years. I've redefined a lot of the world in a lot of ways. One way is, if you go to Google Images and you type in internet vigilante, or you type in hacker, you come up with, it's all anonymous stuff. So hacker culture and vigilante culture, it's all anonymous stuff. The anonymous is this culture, and I'm the founder of this. So that makes me, and I've got a lot of evidence I can go through to prove that I'm the founder of Anonymous. So I'm the founder of all this stuff. I'm the founder of hacker culture, modern hacker culture. I'm the founder of modern vigilantism. I'm behind all this stuff. A lot of cultures in this world, I am behind it. I am the father of these things and the founder of them. So I can't remember what I was going to say. Just give me a sec. I'll pause it again. I can't remember what I was going to say. I've written it down somewhere. Just let me see. That's what I was going to say about how I infiltrate and stuff like that. So I make this deal everywhere I go, and I win people over. I infiltrate. A lot of what I do is you don't know what I'm doing. I'll do most of what I do, you don't know what I'm doing. But I'm not trying to sabotage and manipulate and control and do all kinds of twisted shit. I do covertly infiltrate groups, and I do it more than they realise. I have little birdies everywhere. Infiltration is what I do. And I do it as a force of good, not as a force of evil. I don't do it to deceive. And I infiltrate people, and I win. I identify those who have a chance of winning over, and I try and win them over. And I win a lot of the people over. And by the time I deal with the bad ones who cannot be won over, I still give them a chance, and I confront them, and I challenge them. And by that time, I've already got people on my side, that their own peers. I win their own peers over before they even know about it. So I think they can trust all their friends. I've converted a lot of their friends, and they don't know who to trust and who not to trust. And of those who I can't win over, they get scared because they know that they learn the consequences. They know they don't know who to trust. And this is why certain governments are so freaked out about Anonymous because of this. Not because of hacking. Hacking is a minor problem at most. It's not a big deal. The governments aren't scared of Anonymous because of hacking. They're scared of Anonymous because of what I do, infiltration and winning people over and having eyes everywhere and hidden in every corner. They don't know who they can trust among their own groups. And it's especially true when it comes to black hats who will frequently turn on each other anyway. I win people over. So if you're going to go around making threats against me or anyone else, realise I've got little eyes in every corner. Try it. See what happens. I got documentation on a lot of people, more than I'll ever say. I don't go public with every bit of information I have. I use information responsibly and only as it's necessary. I database things. I put those databases all over the place, all over the internet, all off the internet. I'm always dealing with data and backing up data and databasing and stuff like that all the time. So when people wage war at me, they have no idea what they're getting into. They have no idea how much information I already have on them and how much information they are revealing in the process of attacking me. No one is safe on the internet. No one is no one is untouchable, especially from me. And if you think that you're safe on the internet and you can go around making certain threats that legally give me the right to assassinate you, I will give others a chance. I will usually, not always, but I will usually give others a chance to deal with you in their own way and give them a chance to rise up and be a hero. And then when you need to be dealt with, if no one else deals with you, I'll deal with myself. And if I need to assassinate someone on the other side of the world, I will bloody well go to the other side of the world and I will bloody well assassinate you, and I will do it with a clear conscience. If you go around making terrorist threats and shit like that, I will kill you. It's a matter of how I will kill you. I don't care what protections you think you're under. You go around making terrorist kind of threats and stuff, you die. By my hand, one way or another. Once you do the deed, it's too late. You've crossed the line, it's too late. Your life is forfeit. These are the terms of world peace, of international order. Zero tolerance for crossing certain lines. Certain lines that empower the victims or those who defend their victims the right to defend. Just as if you pull a gun on someone in the street, they have the right to pull a gun on you and shoot you in the head. Some people may be a bit scared or confused on what their rights are on that, and then there are people like me who won't delay. It's like the Crocodile Dundee. Guy tries to mug him with a knife and he says, "You call that a knife? This is a knife." I'm not intimidated by any of this shit. I have absolutely no problem with. I'm not interested in or intimidated by violence. When I need to be violent, I'll be violent. If I need to end someone's life, I'll end someone's life with a clear conscience. I've been a spy for 20 years. There's a lot of people who are dead and a lot of people who are living because of me. I support a lot of assassinations, legal assassinations under proper spirit of law, where it's necessary. I support the death penalty for a lot of crimes. I'm talking about serious crimes. I'm not talking about simple stuff where there's no one's really that affected. If you go around making certain severe threats against people, it's like on the old days. Everyone had a gun in the old days. Someone gets angry at someone, jealous or whatever, and they pull a gun on him. By pulling that gun on at someone, everyone around you will pull a gun on you and they'll shoot you to death in a heartbeat. So in a scenario like that, people are just not going to go around bullying people and pulling guns on them, because they know the moment they try it, everyone around them is going to shoot them in the head. This is how peace is maintained. Intimidation of evil and consequence. You stop evil from doing what it's going to do because they know they're going to have consequence. And the internet is not police. The only people who really policing the internet are the real anonymous. The governments aren't policing the internet. They aren't doing shit. They're engaging in more crimes than they claim to protect against. But that's all changing now. And me and Anonymous, the real Anonymous, have been behind a lot of these changes, orchestrating a lot behind the scenes. And things are dramatically changing over the past year or so. The tide has changed, and expect even greater changes to come. And of all of you who go around making threats over the internet, your days are numbered. You're being tolerated for a reason, temporarily. But you're not so much as being tolerated as you realise. You're being used as a puppet and a tool for your own demise and your peers' demise. And I will try and win over as many of your peers before I take them down. And I will convert any I can to the side of good. Days coming soon where every single one of you little fuckers are simply going to be assassinated in a mass assassination all over the world of all terrorists around the world. So all cyber terrorists around the world will be hunted down across every country, and as the moment they make a threat, they will be dead they'll be dead in the same day. The evidence will be established beforehand. There will be no trial. If there needs to be a trial, it'll be a trial after you're dead. There will be no delays. You make the threat, you're dead. These are the terms of world peace. Zero tolerance for things like terrorism, cyber terrorism. The trial happens after you're dead, if a trial even happens. And when a trial happens, the evidence is already established. It's been monitored all along anyway. You just didn't know about it. You play the game, you play with fire, you're going to get burned. I am the founder of Anonymous. I am the founder of a global intelligence agency, a shadow government, a true version of the United Nations, what the United Nations was supposed to be, a global internet police force, not just on the internet. You want to play with fire, you're going to get burned. So all those who have made these terrorist threats against me, your days are numbered, and you're only alive today because I've allowed it, to give your victims a chance and to train your victims in how to fight criminals like you. The moment I don't have a use for doing what I'm doing, I will simply hunt every single one of you down across the world, and I will assassinate every single one of you. And I will do it legally, because you're engaging in cyber terrorism and stuff like that. If I've got evidence and I'm defending lives and I'm showing that this is in self-defense, I don't care what lies and excuses you try to make up. You're not going to stop me. So when you cross those lines of things like cyber terrorism, your life is forfeit. It's too late. You can't go back from that. You're already dead. But when it comes to things, lesser crimes, as I've said all along, I support freedom. Only as much rules as necessary. Things like bullying. There should be consequences for bullying. Bullying is not the same as cyber terrorism. Bullying should be held accountable, but it should be tolerated to a certain degree as well, because without the pressure of evil testing good, good doesn't have a chance to become a hero and to grow. In order for the flowers to grow, they must grow among some weeds. The weeds trigger the flowers to grow. So I'm not supporting completely getting rid of evil. I'm not supporting total control over society. All I'm saying is a certain degree of evil is a good thing for the sake of good. It helps good. Without evil, good cannot become a hero. You can't become a hero without the adversity of evil. Evil has a limited purpose for a time. It's an evolutionary thing. It's an evolutionary pressure. And it's a good thing. So when it comes to things like bullying and trolling and stuff, I let it fly. As much as I can, I let it fly before I say or do anything about it. And I give the victims a chance to either reveal that they're a snowflake lying hypocrite and they deserve to be humiliated in the first place and ridiculed, or they can they can rise up and be a hero about it. I don't take that chance to be a hero away from them. And sometimes I might interact with them in some way to try and encourage them to be a hero out of it before I stand up to the bully. And there's all kinds of things you can do to a bully. And what I usually do when it comes to bullies, I will empower their victims with the same tools that the bullies use, especially when it comes to online bullying. Certain software tools and stuff that cyber bullies use. I will give better tools. I will make tools for the victims, and I'll give them these victims these tools to do the same thing back to the bully. So I'm not talking about assassination for lesser crimes like bullying and stuff like that. And bullying is not necessarily a bad thing. There's good that can come out of it. It's not only support bullying, but there's good that can come out of it. I'm talking about assassination for making certain kinds of hacking threats and cyber terrorism and stuff like that. These villains who think that they can just get away with it simply because they and their peers have been doing this for years and there's no government around that's been persecuting them. They're like, hey, I can just do this every day and just no one gives a shit. I can just get away with it, so I'm just going to keep doing it. And they get confident in it because there's no one's punishing them for what they're doing. And this is the whole purpose of law, of enforcing law. It's the whole purpose of imprisonment and punishment. It's not about revenge. It's about justice. It's about intimidating evil to control evil and prevent it from crossing certain lines. I'm not fighting to completely eradicate all evil. At the end of evolution, yeah, evil has no purpose anymore. But evolutionarily, evil has a purpose. I'm talking about the reign of evil. It's all fucked up due to ideological viruses and crap. And evil has a stranglehold on the world. And the balance between good and evil, there's not a 50-50 balance. There is a certain balance of majority good and some evil. But that balance is not necessarily universal in every scenario. So make no mistake, I'm not talking about being oppressive and controlling and going around assassinating people for calling you a silly name. No, I'm talking about extreme stuff that villains are doing on a regular basis over the internet, that is already under laws, international laws and national laws, which is covered under self-defense. And not everyone in these governments recognise these laws. They don't recognise their own laws. They make up all these new laws to restrict people's rights, whereas older laws overrule these newer laws. And this shit can only be pulled over people who are ignorant. You can't pull this shit over people like me. So I support vigilantism in the true version of vigilantism and heroism. Not most vigilantes become villains. They think they're fighting as a force of good against evil, but they're a force of evil fighting against good. They've got it all wrong, and most vigilantes become that way. And as I'm the father of modern vigilantism, as I'm the founder of Anonymous, and if you look up internet vigilantism, it's all references to Anonymous. I acknowledge that most of these vigilantes have gone wrong, but it had to be this way. I've explained this in other movies and debates and stuff like that, why it had to be this way. But all these false toxic myths about Anonymous being a force of evil and all this kind of stuff and bullying, all that stuff, those myths are passing away now. I'm here to destroy those myths along with anyone who's a part of that shit. All that shit ends. That's why I'm documenting all these things. I'm documenting it for a reason. So the evil fake Anonymous will pass away, and the real heroes of Anonymous, and there are many of them, they're just drowned out by the vocal minority of these lying bullies and cyber terrorists. They will rise up. I will find them, as many of them as I can find, and I'll reforge a new army of Anonymous, the true Anonymous, under the true principles of Anonymous. I will teach and train them, and we will fulfill the mission, the secret mission of Anonymous. And part of that mission involves holding all terrorists to account, of being true vigilantes in the heroic context, not the villain context, in the heroic context. So if anyone has any disagreement with anything I say, especially when it comes to assassination, because it's a sensitive topic that many people have just never dealt with. I've been a spy for 20 years. A lot of people are living or dead because of me. I deal with the moral dilemmas every day, and my conscience is clear on the matter. So if you have any misunderstanding, you think that and think, oh, he's going around threatening to kill people, well, put it this way: if you say, if ISIS makes a threat against me, I have the right to kill ISIS. Well, everyone agrees with that anyway. Every government in the world, except for the Muslim world, believes that if ISIS make a threat, kill the fuckers. So why is it okay for ISIS, but it's not okay for anyone else? for example, a cyber terrorist who just says, okay, I'm going to call myself anonymous, even though I have nothing to do with anonymous. I'm going to call myself anonymous so that when I do these evil things and someone threatens to punish me, I'm going to say, hey, I'm a hero, I'm a vigilante, I'm a revolutionary, I'm anonymous. And because I'm anonymous, that means that I'm the victim, a victim complex, a victim status, and I'm being oppressed. Save me, help me. No, I'm not going to help you, and no one else is going to help you. Calling yourself whatever label, anonymous or anything else, is not going to save you from me, buddy. You make terrorist threats, your life is forfeit. Simple as that. These are the conditions for world peace. Zero tolerance for those who violate to such a degree. So the deal I make is I make a deal with a lot of bad people, and a lot of bad people I work with. And they turn against other bad people who attack the innocent and vulnerable. And this is my focus. Protecting the innocent and vulnerable, and maintaining some kind of balance and accountability for power structures in the world. To stop things from getting out of hand and keep things accountable. So if anyone has any problem with or misunderstanding what I say here, debate me about it. We'll go through any details that you've got a concern about, and we'll go through it. But make it crystal clear. You go around crossing certain lines, and you think that you can get away with it by pulling all kinds of psychological tactics and lies and crap like that, and excuses and playing the victim card and all that. It doesn't work on me. It doesn't work on me in the slightest. So just don't try it. Don't waste your time. Own your shit. Own the consequences. Don't go around doing intense evil. Don't go around doing evil at all. There are certain kinds of evil that I respond to in different ways. But when you cross certain lines, your life is gone, buddy. And I have a crystal clear conscience about it. So if you want to talk about the topic of things like cyberbullying or stalking and stuff like that, stalking is serious, but it's not. There's different types of stalking. There's stalking there's very different types of stalking that fit in completely different realms. But I support accountability for all these things, but I only support assassination when it comes to the most severe of things, the things that threaten international peace. For example, let's say Indian phone scammers. These people are a threat to international peace. The Indian government won't do anything about them. So what I say, because they're such a problem, they've ruined a lot of lives, stolen a lot of money and property. If the Indian government refuses to do anything about it, you give the Indian government an alternative. You say, look, we give you a week, you get rid of at least 90% of them, and show that you're doing something reasonably to get rid of the rest. You've got a week. If you don't get rid of them in a week, totally get rid of them in a week, we will quarantine you. We will quarantine you. You will not be allowed to call any other country. And if this problem continues, after that, we will invade you. We'll take over your country. We will find them ourselves, and we will execute them because they are committing. These people are committing terrorism. They're doing a lot of terrorism because they're extorting people for money. They're holding them hostage and all this kind of crap. These aren't just simply scamming people by just taking little bits of money here and there. These people are in all kinds of extortion, all kinds of evil shit, beyond simply money. So this phone scamming there's a lot of other topics connected to it. It's slavery, human trafficking, all kinds of stuff involved in it. And you simply execute those who have crossed certain lines, and those who are employees of this. Some of the, depending on who they are and what they've done, you apply different rules according to the severity of what they've done. And every single person involved in this at least goes to prison for a very long time. Every single person involved. The point I'm saying is understand that certain lines must be dealt with in extremes. Well, everything below that line you must have a lot of tolerance for, and there is a clear line, and you don't shift that line all over the place and make excuses for you don't want to go to all that trouble, or you're scared that you'll get targeted, or you're scared of another country putting trade restrictions on you, and money's all you care about. No, you do the right thing. You know the line. You draw a line in the sand. You know where that line is. Anything that crosses that line, you kill it. Everything before that line, you tolerate it to as much as you can. So know where the line is and why it's so important to have zero tolerance for anything that crosses that line. So if anyone wants to discuss where that line is, discuss it with me. And I refer to the scenario example of someone who pulls a gun on you in the street to mug you of $50 in your wallet. You have the right to pull out a gun and shoot them in the head. Now, there are people who will try and make excuses, and these are criminals who will make excuses and say, but I didn't kill you. I just wanted your $50 and you killed me. You took it too far. You took it too extreme. Well, quite frankly, most people would say no. If you pull a gun on someone, you forfeit your life. So when you do this on the internet, it's no different. Everything you do on the internet is the same as if you do it in real life. There are laws when you do this in real life, and there are old telecommunication laws that extend those that make it clear that there is no difference between the internet and in real life, because things are the old telecommunication laws of what you do, the same crimes over the phone, they still apply. So if it's the same in person, it's the same in phone, then why would the internet be any different? It's not. Now, there are some countries make up silly laws that have no meaning or value. They're illegitimate laws that say you can't act in self-defense over the internet. What they don't recognize is that there are already laws that say you can. So there are laws that say you can, there are laws that say you can't. And these new laws that say you can't have no value or meaning. I don't recognize those laws. They are completely illegitimate. They are overruled by other laws. There's a contradiction in law, and you must choose between two laws. And evil people will make up these new laws, and they'll choose these evil laws and pretend that the other important laws don't matter. Realize they are undermining and ignoring the law, and what they are doing is criminal. You know, I'll talk for ages. There's all kinds of topics involved here, but understand. So the point is, I make this deal with everyone, the good guys, the bad guys, the grey hats, everyone. And I'm not deceptive or manipulative about it. I do infiltrate. I admit that I infiltrate people all the time, and I get a lot of information that I don't talk about. But I don't abuse that information. I'm always operating as a force of good. The only people who have any concern about me are evil people doing very evil things. And if they want to complain and call me a snitch or whatever they want to call me, I really don't care. It's pathetic. What you're saying is pathetic. Like, you're complaining about someone dobbing you in. It's like you go around mugging people. You go around throwing rocks at windows in the middle of the night, and you think you're a hero and a revolutionary. No, you're just a fucking petty thug. And then someone dobs you in, and you say, "How dare you dob on me? How dare you dob on me?" Of course, it's good that they dared to dob on you, standing up to a piece of shit. You're a worthless piece of shit, and you should be stood up to. Then, how can you dare try and shame them for dobbing you? Now, you're the one that should be shamed, and you're psychologically projecting and doing role reversal. Own your shit. You do this shit, you own the consequences. Don't cop that shit. Stand up to these lies. What they're doing is psychological projection and role reversal. They try and point the finger at you as though you've failed some kind of loyalty that they demand of you. Well, as for me, my loyalties are clear. I'm loyal to morality and truth and the spirit of law. I'm not loyal to any group or organization. I'm loyal to morality and truth. And my loyalty to you only extends as far as you operate within morality and truth. When you operate outside of morality and truth, then we have a problem. So if you want to be on my side, be one of the good guys. If you want to be my enemy, be one of the bad guys. Simple as that. And if anyone wants to discuss or debate any of these things, I'm open as much as possible to debate and discuss about these things. So don't freak out about what I say and try to reinterpret what I say, as a lot of villains do, a lot of evil people do. They try and misquote me, and they panic. They panic at the idea that someone like me would stand up to them, and cyber terrorists freak out that, hey, oh shit, he's going to kill me. You're not allowed to do that. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. No, you're not a victim, and your life's forfeit, buddy. Go around making cyber terrorist threats, you're dead. So anyway, I make this deal with everybody, all sides, and I'm always open about it. And if you cross certain lines, I deal with you, and nothing you say or do is going to stop me from doing what I'm going to do. And I will not be intimidated by any threats that you make, any excuses that you make. Has no impact whatsoever. And I will empower your victims to fight against you. And I will convert over your own friends. I'll win over your own friends, and they'll be the ones who'll probably do you in. Your own friends. So who do you think you can trust? If you're on the side of evil, you can't trust anyone. If you're on the side of good, you can trust me, and I can earn that trust. Alright, so I'll finish the video for now. I could talk about there's all different topics that I can cover here, but be clear about my position. There's a line of a hell of a lot of tolerance, and when you go beyond that line, zero tolerance. And that is a requirement, necessary, strict requirement for world peace, that you don't tolerate certain things. When you let certain, it's like let's just put one point. It's like pulling a gun on someone and shooting them for $50. You don't do that, and serious consequences. You either get the death penalty, or you're put away for the rest of your life in prison, and that's a good incentive not to do it, and it intimidates evil people from doing that, from mugging people and killing them. So what happens if certain people in certain special status groups, like Muslims, LGBT, feminism and stuff, what if they're given an exception for this? They're allowed to do it. You're not allowed to do it. So when you violate laws once, you violate one law, you violate every law. You violate the whole law. Law either it works or it doesn't. And when you allow any kind of exceptions to law and make excuses for it, just the one time you do that one time, the whole law is just destroyed. Doesn't work anymore. You have to maintain the law, absolutely, and not make excuses, and not allow evil to infiltrate the law and take over and corrupt and erode the law. Enforce the law. You don't need your government and the police to enforce the spirit of law. You enforce it yourself. You be a hero vigilante of the true kind, not a villain pretending to be a hero. Learn how to be a true vigilante. And don't pretend to be a vigilante as an excuse to go around vandalising websites and making terrorist threats to people over the internet. I'm not interested in your excuses when you do that. You do that shit, you own the consequences. You're just not used to facing the consequences. Well, then you keep doing this to people, then you come across the big boss, me. You go around taking pot shots at random people. Eventually you're going to hit someone who's going to fight back. And they're going to fight back hard. So understand responsibilities when it comes to the internet. Just because it's the internet doesn't give you the excuse to go around doing these things. It is no different than if you do it in person. If you said to someone, you kept calling someone up on the phone and following them in the streets and saying, I'm going to steal your car, I'm going to rape your girlfriend, all that kind of stuff. Well, there are consequences for doing that. So if you go and do that shit on the internet, the same consequences apply. And I don't care if you're living on another country on the other side of the world. I have the right to go over to that country and deal with you personally. So the moral of this story is apply the same rules in person as you apply on the internet. The internet is not some special rights excuse to get away with these crimes. The same rules apply. And anyone who wants to be a force of good for real, I make this deal with you. And I open this deal to anyone. And if you're a black hat, I'm not going to target you, so long as you don't attack the innocent and vulnerable. And any of your peers who do attack the innocent and vulnerable, you must attack them. You must bring them down. So if anyone has a problem with my position and my deal, anyone wants to further accuse me of being someone who's trying to covertly take over people and stuff like that, over groups, understand that I don't deny that I infiltrate and win people over, but I don't have a hidden, secret, malignant agenda. I'm trying to guide and steer people in the right direction and stop evil. As long as you're not doing anything very, very evil, you don't cross that line. I might criticize some bad things you're doing, but I'm not going to do anything. I'll criticize you publicly. Just don't cross that line. But you don't have the right to be, even if you do below that line, you don't have the right to be protected from criticism. I'll criticize anyone I damn well see please, and I expect the same in return. If you have some legitimate, factual criticism of me, criticize me. If you question anything I say or do, criticize me, question it. I invite the debate. I'm not going to try and censor you, but don't go around spreading lies and making false accusations, because that crosses the line. It doesn't cross the line that I mentioned before, but it crosses the line of zero tolerance for things like slander, libel, defamation. That violates freedom of speech. If you go around doing this, these are laws that are established in person, and they're being enforced progressively on the internet in the wrong direction. But this is a big issue of slander, libel, and defamation. They're just not being properly enforced, and they're in the process of becoming enforced. So the internet is not a safe haven. You're not safe over the internet. I hold everyone to account for everything they do, online or offline. I judge everyone according to the standards, the very standards they judge everyone else. So if you're not judging anyone, then you're not violating anyone. You're not interfering with anyone. You can criticize everyone, that's fine, but you're not interfering with anyone. You're not judging them. You're not trying to control them. And you go off in your own direction and do your own thing. So long as you're within minimum standards of universal standards of law and rights, like the UDHR. I support whatever you're doing, as bizarre as it might be. I support what you're doing, but you don't. But if you're doing something I want to criticize, you don't have the right to be protected from criticism. If you're doing something that I disagree with, I will disagree with it and I'll criticize you. You don't have the protection of that. You're not allowed to be protected from that. That's not hate speech. There's no such thing as hate speech. So if you want to be protected from criticism, then you are not allowed to criticize. I'll judge you according to your own standards. If I'm not allowed to criticize you, then you're not allowed to criticize me. So if you're not allowed to criticize my criticism of you, you're not allowed to complain about me criticizing you if you think that I'm not allowed to criticize you. I judge you according to your own standards. I could talk for hours on this and all related topics. Just be clear on the line that I'm drawing here when it comes to assassination. I'm talking about things like cyber terrorism, hacking threats. You do those things in person, and people have the right to go and kill you. You do it online, same rules apply, and it doesn't matter if you're next door neighbour doing this in person, or you're some idiot on the other side of the world over the internet. Same rules apply. Alright, I'll finish this video for now. Just talk to me about this stuff, because it's a sensitive topic and a lot of people are extremely ignorant of this topic. So talk to me about this topic. Become aware of what my true position of this is. And I'm not the only one with this position. I'm just the only one who's honest about my position. I don't have any moral dilemma over things. And when I need to react with violence to something, I will react to violence with something, and I will do it without hesitation. So discuss with me and each other, and get to the fundamental points behind it, and clearly define where the different lines are. The line where you have the right to end someone's life, and the line where you have the right to criticize, and the line where you have the right to fight back in a limited level of self-defense. There are these lines, and know where these lines are, and don't change those lines. If you don't maintain those lines, they're going to keep pushing those lines back further and further. And that's what the forces of evil in this world are doing. They're trying to push the lines back further and further, and they're trying to remove those lines altogether so that you can get away with doing anything. And that's what it's like with freedom of speech and hate speech. Anything you say against them is hate speech. They're a special protected group. They're allowed to criticize you. You're not allowed to criticize them. Well, that's illegal. I don't care if they make policies and call it law. It's not law. Doesn't matter if a bunch of corrupt politicians conspire under the table and pretend to make laws. It's not law. Just because they recognize it as law and they bribe police officers into pretending it's a law, it is not the law. Hate speech is not the law anywhere. Anyone who tries to use force against you to stop your freedom of speech, you have the right to use violence in self-defense. Any force they use against you, you have the right to use violence against them, to defend yourself, to defend your rights. And if you don't, they will take those rights away from you. So I'll finish for now. Just understand the lines that I'm saying. Don't confuse the lines. Understand those lines and where they are. And maintain those lines absolutely with vigilance. If you do not, society crumbles. This is the big lesson of society today. You need to draw those lines, understand those lines crystal clear, and never let those lines be moved. You maintain those lines, and you fight against anyone who tries to remove those lines or move them. Alright, I'm done for now.